I'm going to start with Scott. The NBA is the league that has its rights coming up next year, I guess. The exclusive negotiating right is in the spring, and then at the end of the season, the rights come due. Do you expect that the license fees paid by U.S. distributors, that those fees will go up in this cycle, stay flat, or go down? And start from the NBA's perspective.
Up.
Up. That's what's known as an alley-oop, actually. And explain why in a context where there is a lot of pressure on those rights fees, as the Charter Disney dispute indicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think to your point on the Disney Charter dispute, it was an example of this transition that is happening from linear television to streaming. And, you know, the media companies, the traditional media companies, they're trying to keep the legacy media business alive. You know, it's declining, but it's still very profitable. It's generating a lot of cash flow. So they're trying to keep that alive. At the same time, they're trying to build the model of the future, which is the streaming business. And that transition is very choppy. And I think that's what we're seeing happen right now, and the distributors and the media companies trying to navigate that choppy transition. And of course, as you mentioned, that's happening at the exact time that we're in market renewing our rights. And so it's a challenge, but it's also a pretty big opportunity for us. And you know, the reason for that is we believe very strongly that NBA content is in demand on both sides of that equation. It's very important to the legacy media business, and it's also going to be incredibly impactful to streaming companies. And so we're getting significant inbound interest from our incumbent partners who really want to renew. It's very critical for their business. But you know, we read the same reports that many people in this room are writing and hearing of others that are really interested in our business. And so there's a lot of interest in our rights. And again, I think it's because of what we can do on both sides of that equation. For the traditional business, again, which remains profitable, you know, sports is really what's holding the cable bundle together. And while people are leaving the ecosystem, our share, you know, the NBA's share of households is the highest it's been in 25 years. Yeah. So you look no further than that to see that it really is the sports are the glue that are holding that bundle together. And so as they're trying to protect that asset, you know, keeping the NBA is critical to keeping that going. But at the same time, from a streaming perspective, we think the NBA is really uniquely valuable to streaming platforms for a couple of reasons. You know, first, streaming it's a hits business. You know, you need premium, differentiated content to acquire subscribers, to retain subscribers, and you really need those marquee hits. But finding the next White Lotus or Succession or Ted Lasso, it's really hard. These companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars in search of that diamond in the rough, and they spend a lot of money on the misses in search of the hits. And what live sports can be is that guaranteed hit. You know, it is predictable, it's dependable, it's guaranteed. When you put an NBA game on, you know you're going to drive. You know, we had an average audience of 1.6 million viewers in the regular season, closer to 5 million. You know, when you put an NBA game on, you're getting that audience. And that is so valuable to these streaming companies. You know, second is, from an NBA perspective, particularly is the balance of the quantity and the quality. This is actually a quote that Bob Iger used on one of his conference calls. But you know, we have 230 telecasts with at least 1 million viewers. You know, and obviously the NFL is the big gorilla in the room in the United States, but they have fewer number. You know, obviously, understandably higher per, but more than 100 more than the next highest. So it's a significant benefit to the streaming services, that balance of quality and quantity that we can bring, and we think there's going to be a lot of demand for those assets. Whether that's our incumbent partners and their streaming services, I'm sure you all saw that Max is going to be offering a sports tier, so they're bringing our content there. What ESPN Plus is doing, as well as the new entrants. So it's really valuable regardless of the partner. You know, the third piece I would say is demographics. You know, the NBA is a really valuable demographic that advertisers are trying to reach. More than 25% of our audience is under the age of 35. So as they're trying to find that demographic on these streaming platforms, NBA content is really valuable in helping to drive that. And then, you know, the other one I think is really sometimes lost is the fact that the NBA is a global brand. And in this new round of media negotiations, where the platforms that are going to be distributing our content are global and scaled in nature, it's a complete game changer from where we were in 2014. You go back to that period of time, and you had, market by market, different pay TV ecosystems, and this one has a monopoly here, and this cable distributor, and you have to have an encyclopedia to figure out how you navigate the different markets. But you put your games on Disney Plus, you put your games on Amazon Prime. That's a global service, and having NBA content that is relevant everywhere across the world is incredibly valuable to these companies to reach all their users. And can also be a really powerful launch partner. To the extent they're trying to launch in a new market, having the NBA in tow is really valuable. And then the last I would leave you with is just something that I think gets lost a little bit in the media ecosystem right now is the power of live content. Streaming services are great serving on demand. They've done an amazing job at serving the customer what they want when they want it, but there's still something special about live content. And particularly as advertising dollars are shifting to these digital platforms and they want that premium live inventory, sports are really the only live product left. Like I said, we can tell a streaming service, we're going to bring an average audience of 1.6 million, a reach of 5 million people to your platform on Tuesday night at 7:30. That is so valuable to these guys as they think how they cross-promote other programming, how they drive ad dollars. And so, yes, it's a challenging market. It's a tricky transition, but frankly, I think the demand for our content and the relevance of our content has never been higher.